There's a stretch of forest in northern America where search and rescue teams refuse to go after dark. Not because of bears, not because of cliffs or weather, but because over the past 30 years, more than a dozen experienced hikers have walked into those woods and never walked out. No bodies, no remains, no explanation, just silence thick enough to feel pressing against your ears. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about one of those cases, a case that still unsettles investigators. Because 3 experienced young men went into the deep woods for a weekend trip and were never seen again. In October of 2011, 3 college friends, Mark, Tyler, and Evan, planned a short hiking trip through a heavily wooded national forest. They weren't reckless. Mark had grown up camping. Tyler knew survival basics. Evan completed several backcountry trails before. They packed carefully: food, water filters, emergency blankets, satellite maps. They told their families they'd be gone for 2 nights. Saturday morning, they parked their car at the trailhead. A security camera captured them laughing as they adjusted their backpacks and disappeared into the trees. That footage is the last confirmed sighting of them. When Monday came and none of them showed up, concern turned into panic. Families contacted authorities. Search teams were deployed within hours. Helicopters scanned the canopy. Search dogs were brought in. Volunteers spread out across miles of rugged terrain. About 7 miles into the forest, rescuers found something: their campsite. The tent was fully intact, zipped shut. Sleeping bags neatly laid out inside. Food supplies untouched. Backpacks leaning against a tree. It looked as if the 3 men had stepped away for a short walk and planned to return any minute. But there was one detail that made every seasoned search officer pause. Inside the tent, placed side by side, were 3 pairs of hiking boots, all of them removed, carefully aligned. No experienced hiker walks barefoot into freezing forest terrain at night, not voluntarily. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no drag marks, no torn fabric, nothing disturbed in the surrounding brush. It was as if they had calmly taken off their boots and walked into the darkness. Search dogs picked up their scent just outside the tent. The trail led about 50 yards into the woods, and then it stopped. Not faded, not scattered, stopped. As if the 3 men had simply vanished into thin air. Investigators theorized hypothermia, disorientation. Perhaps they wandered off confused and succumbed to exposure. But even in cases of hypothermia, bodies are eventually found, clothing is discovered, remains are located. In this case, there was nothing. Weeks passed, then months. The forest grew quiet again. Nearly a year later, a hunter trekking about 12 miles from the original campsite made a disturbing discovery. Carved into the bark of a large pine tree were 3 names: Mark, Tyler, Evan. The carving looked fresh, but there were no footprints nearby, no discarded supplies, no campfire remains, no sign that anyone had camped there. The hunter later told authorities something else. He said that while examining the carving, he felt like he wasn't alone. He described an overwhelming sense of being watched, not by an animal, but by something standing upright, completely still, hidden between the trees. He left immediately. Search teams combed the area again. Nothing was found. To this day, the 3 men have never been recovered, and locals who live near that forest say that if you hike deep enough at dusk, you might hear something strange. A voice carried on the wind, faint, almost familiar, calling your name from somewhere you can't quite place. But that wasn't the only case connected to those woods. In 2018, a young couple named Sarah and Daniel decided to document their backpacking trip through a different section of the same forest range. They were cautious, experienced, and active on social media. They posted daily updates. Day 1 was normal, smiling photos, scenic overlooks, lighthearted captions. Day 2 felt different. In one short video clip, Sarah is whispering into the camera. She says they've been hearing footsteps behind them for hours. Not animal sounds, not branches falling, footsteps matching their pace, stopping when they stop. Daniel laughs in the background, suggesting it's just an echo or nerves, but viewers noticed something else. In the background of the video, partially obscured by trees, there appears to be a tall, dark shape, too tall to be a stump, too narrow to be a bear. Standing perfectly still, the comments exploded. People begged them to leave, asked what was behind them. They never replied. On the third day, only one more video was uploaded. It's shaky, out of focus. You can hear heavy breathing, branches snapping somewhere close. Daniel's voice is tense now. He says very clearly, "It's not leaving." Then the video cuts abruptly. That was the last post. Search teams later found their campsite. The tent had been slashed from the inside, gear scattered. One of their cameras was found nearly a mile away, resting against a tree. The memory card was recovered. Authorities never released the final footage publicly. But one officer involved in the case gave a brief statement years later. He said the final frame showed Sarah staring into the camera, whispering, "It's mimicking us." And behind her, just before the video ends, something tall stepped partially into view. Both Sarah and Daniel remain missing. Two separate cases, different people, different years. Same forest range, same pattern. Footsteps where there should be none. A presence that watches. And then, nothing. If you're enjoying this story so far, make sure to subscribe to Mystery Spectrum US and turn on notifications, because what happened to the next hiker is even harder to explain. Because this time, someone survived. And what she described still keeps investigators awake at night. In 1996, a 32-year-old solo hiker named Rachel Mercer signed in at a ranger station just before noon. She was experienced, calm under pressure, and had even volunteered with search and rescue in the past. She understood terrain, weather shifts, and survival psychology. If anyone knew how to handle themselves in deep wilderness, it was Rachel. Her plan was simple: 3 days, 2 nights, a solo reset away from noise and people. She packed light but smart: compass, GPS unit, flare, extra batteries, enough food for 4 days just in case. The first day was uneventful: clear skies, quiet trails. She passed 2 other hikers heading out. Then, by late afternoon, she was alone, completely alone. That night she camped near a clearing surrounded by thick pine. She later said the silence felt heavier than usual, not peaceful, not calming, pressurized. Around 2 a.m., she woke to the sound of something brushing lightly against her tent. At first, she assumed it was wind or a curious animal. She stayed still, listening. Then she heard it clearly. Rachel, her name, spoken softly from just outside the tent. No one else knew her exact location. She hadn't shared it publicly. There were no nearby camps on record. She told herself she must have been dreaming. Then it came again. Closer this time. "Rachel, come out." The voice sounded almost normal, almost human, but slightly off, as if it didn't quite understand how to shape the words. She reached slowly for her knife and stayed silent. Minutes passed, then the voice changed. It began repeating phrases she had said earlier that day while hiking alone. Small things, casual comments, jokes she had muttered to herself. The tone was wrong though, flattened, mechanical, like someone mimicking her without understanding emotion. Then it laughed, low, warped, wet. Rachel didn't unzip the tent. She didn't respond. She sat upright until sunrise, gripping the knife, listening to slow footsteps circle her camp. When daylight finally came, everything looked normal. No tracks, no broken branches, nothing disturbed. She packed quickly and began hiking out. Within 20 minutes, she realized something was wrong. The trail markers were gone, not damaged, gone. She checked her compass. The needle spun in slow, uneven circles. Her GPS unit flickered and then shut off despite fresh batteries. Rachel later said that's when fear truly set in, not when she heard her name, not when the voice laughed, but when her tools stopped working. She chose a direction she believed led back toward the ranger station and walked steadily for an hour. And then she stepped into a clearing, the same clearing she had camped in. Her own footprints from earlier were visible in the dirt. Impossible! She turned around and tried again. Different direction, faster pace. 40 minutes later, the same clearing. By now, her breathing was uneven, her thoughts racing. She had trained for disorientation scenarios before. She knew panic could distort perception. But this didn't feel like panic. It felt guided, as if something was quietly hurting her. Then she saw it, about 30 yards away, standing between two trees, tall, too tall. Its arms hung slightly lower than they should have. The joints seemed wrong, bending subtly inward. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle, almost curious. It wasn't moving. It was simply watching. Rachel said the most disturbing part wasn't its appearance. It was the certainty, the absolute crushing certainty that it knew her, that it understood her thoughts as they formed. Her instinct was to run. But another instinct, one she couldn't explain, told her running would make it worse. So instead, she did something unexpected. She sat down, right there in the clearing, closed her eyes, and waited. She focused on slowing her breathing, on steadying her mind. She refused to give it panic. Minutes passed. Then an hour. At some point, she realized the forest had gone silent again. When she finally opened her eyes, it was gone. No figure, no distorted shape, and directly ahead of her, clear and visible, was the trail marker she had been searching for all morning. Bright, obvious, impossible to miss. She followed it without looking back. By dusk, she stumbled into the ranger station, shaking and pale. When questioned, she struggled to describe what she'd seen. She repeated one sentence several times. "It knew me." Rachel never returned to the woods again. Investigators tried to rationalize her experience: stress response, auditory hallucinations, temporary magnetic interference affecting equipment. But they couldn't explain how she kept returning to the same clearing, or why multiple hikers over the years described nearly identical encounters in the same forest range. Footsteps matching pace, voices calling names, mimicry, a tall figure between trees, and then disappearance. Some researchers studying wilderness vanishings have quietly noted patterns. Many cases involve experienced hikers. Many involve strange weather shifts. Many involve the sensation of being watched just before going missing. And in almost every account where someone survives, one detail repeats. The thing in the woods doesn't chase, it observes, it tests, it waits, as if deciding, which raises a question that's hard to ignore. What if the deep woods aren't empty? What if something intelligent lives there? Not an animal, not something we catalog and study, but something that understands us better, something that can imitate, something that can call your name in a familiar voice, something that can guide you away from safety. Search and rescue teams still operate in those forests today. They don't officially acknowledge anything unusual, but off record, some admit they've felt it too. That sensation, that pressure in the air, the awareness that you are not the only one moving between those trees. And if you hike deep enough far from trailheads and campgrounds, you might notice something subtle. The forest doesn't echo the way it should. Sound feels absorbed, muted, like the woods are listening more than speaking. 3 friends, gone without a trace. A couple documenting their fear in real time, vanished. A trained hiker who barely escaped with her sanity. Different years, different people, same patterns. So the next time you look at a map and see miles of untouched forest marked in green, ask yourself something. If someone, or something, has lived there long before we carved trails through it, who really belongs? And if you hear your name whispered from somewhere deep between the trees, will you answer? If you made it this far, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Mystery Spectrum US for more true and unsettling stories every week. Because sometimes the most peaceful places on Earth are only peaceful. until they decide not to be.